some stuff. There's a lady going around calling churches for formula. And the response she got was expected. You see, the church bureaucracy is one of the biggest problems. You have a church council full of old men that have juxtaposed their political views into their faith, or lack thereof. Let's remind you, Jesus took 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread and fed 5,000 people. That's what the story says. And that's just counting the men. So let's say that they were married and had kids or whatever, and it could have been up to upwards of 20,000 people. Let's remember what Jesus also said. The foxes have holes to live in, and the birds have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to rest his head. Yet there are those within the church that will contend that Jesus wasn't homeless. They have an ideological capture that prevents them from seeing the truth of the magnificence of who Christ is. That his love and his compassion and his ability to reach across cultural, socio-economic boundaries is beyond the church's grasp. Let's talk about the people that stand on corners with bullhorns and scream. But yet Jesus' way of teaching had nothing to do with screaming. In fact, the only time he screamed was when he was screaming at the religious leaders, the rabbinical order, the Sadducees, the Pharisees, the scribes. In fact, his story about the Samaritan, people quote it, but they don't understand the historical and socio-religious implications of that story. So back to the formula. Was it a setup? It was properly done. She was exposing the truth, that the church doesn't care about people. They care about a building, a fabrication of stone and steel and nails and wood and all the parts of construction. And they care about their air conditioning and their light bill, and they care about appeasing the idiots that run that church. Every church organization is the same. Whether it's a congregational church or any other type of governmental system, they shouldn't have tax deduction. They shouldn't have a 501(c)(3). They should be forced to pay taxes. If they're going to sequester donations to the point where people who need help cannot receive it, then they should be paying taxes, because then it's a business. I worked for a nonprofit for almost 10 years. We had to either be in the red or have no profit to continually being qualified for a nonprofit status. You see, the problem is that most of the people at church are too ignorant and too blind to the fact that they're being robbed blind. Here's a point of fact. Who was the guy that betrayed Jesus? Oh, he was the one that held the money. He was the one who was also turned by money, betrayed his master, his rabbi, his teacher, the Son of God, the Son of Man, which that title means a lot. That's another conversation. You see, you have people like, I don't want to mention names, but all the guys on television that are asking you for money and that Jesus told them they need a bigger plane to spread the gospel. They're not spreading the gospel, they're spreading lies, and they're spreading things that have nothing to do with Christ. Christ said, and I quote, that if you gain the entire world but lose your soul, what does it profit a man? Maybe the parishioners of churches should go back to reading the text. Take the Old Testament, put it over there. That's the Old Covenant. It doesn't exist anymore. It's no longer contextually valid. Read the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Don't read the writings of Paul until you understand those 4 Gospels. Okay? And they'll take one text. Well, Jesus said that the poor would always be among us. Read the context of that entire thing. See, the problem is that none of you even have the basic knowledge of hermeneutical study. You take the text, the verse for the chapter, for the book, for the entire text. Most of the kids I went to Bible college with weren't interested in learning Greek and Hebrew. They just wanted to get to church. They just wanted their free Christian welfare ticket. I'll just preach a sermon on Sunday, maybe Sunday night, Wednesday, and I'll get paid. It's Christian welfare, man. You don't deserve to get paid. Go do what Paul did. Make tents. Be a tanner. Have a job. Not, anytime I ever asked a church for help, wouldn't happen. I was in Bible college. I was a volunteer youth pastor for years. I couldn't get any help. I'm glad, because I don't really want that. You know. And I know all the naysayers are come in the comments and say that I'm wrong. Well, that's because you don't know what you're talking about. Study it. Open it up. Get the original language out. Get a Thayer's Greek lexicon, and, an interlinear, and actually read the actual text. Don't come at me if you can't even understand what the words mean in their original language. So I really don't care. And if you so much as say my pastor told me, well, then your pastor's a moron. I don't care how many degrees he has. Don't care. Whenever you take the truth and you sift it through a political perspective, an ideological capture, or any other perspective other than a grammatical, historical interpretation of the text, then you're lying. You're lying, and you're spreading falsehood, and you're doing it for self-promotion, self-aggrandizement, and any other thing that you want to do. It is time that the church opens their purse strings and starts helping society. There's billions of dollars that the churches take in when they just keep getting bigger churches. I really don't think that's how Jesus wanted this. I don't go to church anymore because I'm not going to give my time and money to a bunch of people that don't want to give their time and money to their local community. Period. And see, the reason that they do that in any time is to build their church, not to build the body of Christ. It's a big difference between the body of Christ and the church. The church is supposed to be the body of Christ, but the way that we understand it now in this modern iteration of humanity is that the church means the body of Christ, that building. It's not truth. But that's what you're told. You gotta go to church. Don't forsake yourself assembling together as some do. Well, that's one text in Hebrews 10:26, but that word episynagoge also exists in Thessalonians when it says that we'll be gathered in the air together. And don't get me started on the rapture. Totally unbiblical. Totally a creation of very nefarious individuals. The early church never looked for it. They didn't care. They were there to serve Christ even after his death, burial, and resurrection. Yes, I still believe all this stuff. I just don't believe it the way you do. I mean, I could go on and on about the way he interacted with the Syrophoenician woman and the way he acted with the centurion and all these things that he never said to the sinner and those. They called him a wine bibber, a friend of sinners. He told the Pharisees that the tax collectors and the prostitutes are entering heaven before you. And these were the alleged teachers of the law. God gave them 10 commandments. Moses gave them 612 because humans are always looking for loopholes. That's about all I gotta say. You might want to really consider your Sundays to do something useful for humanity instead of sitting in front of a man standing behind a pulpit telling you how to live your life when he himself is not Christ. There is no vicar of Christ on the planet. It is Christ, the only mediator between us and the Father. That's it. And if you think your pastor is some super spiritual guy that's just gonna, usher you faster into the gates of heaven, then you are sadly mistaken. Love you to say.